We have with us Mr. Sudhir Avchar, DGM Tata Motors, who will be talking regarding 3D printing in automotive and EV vehicle industry.
Good afternoon and welcome you all to this session. In this session, we would be discussing on how additive manufacturing can proliferate in the automotive industry. We start with a safety contact. Let us all stay home and stay safe and help in breaking the chain of COVID. In the next 20 minutes, we would be discussing on what are the demands of automotive industry, what does AM offer, what are the gaps, and how we can overcome these gaps. To understand the requirements better, here we have shown a classification of the industry. This is a non-conventional classification where there are three segments: mass market, luxury market, and sports. This classification can be applied to industries from bikes to trucks. However, examples of car are shown as it is easy to relate with them. Each segment has its own requirements, and luxury markets and sports requirements are more amenable to 3D printing. However, the mass market is where the volume lies. Hence, we would be going in detail in the mass market industry. These requirements shown here for each segment are applicable to all industries. However, if we pick the top three for mass market, they are affordability, durability, and availability. The whole industry is regulated, and any new designs or changes need to meet these regulations, both prevalent and upcoming. To deep dive into the mass market cars, how is affordability ensured? It is ingrained in the design and is ensured by exploiting the economies of scale, where high initial costs are distributed over larger volumes. Availability is ensured by rate of build, which is in multiples per minute. If we take an example of car industry in China, there 46 cars per minute are produced. This is the build rate requirement. The build rate is supported by the supply chain model where the parts are distributed over multiple suppliers who make these parts and supply them to the top tier OEMs. Durability is ensured by the repeatability and reproducibility of the mass manufacturing processes. They deliver specifications consistently, which evolve over iterative cycle of design and testing. In the project definition stage, the concepts of operations evolved are detailed into detailed designs. Parts are made as per these detailed designs and are tested at part level, subsystem level, and system levels. Finally, it is checked whether the concepts of operations are delivered, and the process iterates until then. So what does an automotive vehicle constitute of? If we consider the classification as per weight, 80% of them are metal and 20% parts are plastics. Also, for plastics, the conventional materials like PA, PP, PC, ABS are not available in the 3D printing industry. By this, what do we mean? The materials available in 3D printing are not exact representations of the properties of the conventional materials. When we come to metals, these are primarily hot rolled or cold rolled sheets, castings, or forgings. They are primarily ferrous. Only in areas where weight saving is important and the loads allow, aluminum is used. The powder metallurgy and the composites have applications in very niche segments of high-end vehicles. The final parts are made either by the stamping process or the machining process or the various joinery processes like welding or assembly, where the parts made are assembled. The key takeaway from the slide is that the materials and processes are aligned to the objective of fit for function parts, meeting the cost for economics and number for the build rate requirements. Now, why we are looking at this slide? Over the next slides, you will understand how strong points of conventional engineering create constraints for DFAM. So what are the strong points? We start with legacy design. If you look at these parts across all OEMs, the shapes are similar. They are customized as per the application of mounting and the loads. This concept of design rules, the processes that have evolved over the multiple years, in fact thousands of years, have led to an intelligence which have created the design rules. These design rules are used in terms of process constraints, and they govern the shape of the component to a greater extent. If you look at the SCM model, when the parts are distributed over the suppliers, in some suppliers also design those parts. So they own the IP of the parts. So a car is necessarily an interlinked system of parts. And when these parts are owned by multiple OEMs, bringing in the change becomes difficult because we have to interlink many stakeholders. So in summary, this all advantages of conventional design have led to optimization in digital and physical validation. The load cases have got enriched, and you only check where now there is a possibility of failure. So the load cases don't represent the real world load cases. The tolerancing and dimensioning schemes are also made in sync with the process quality achieved by the conventional processes. So there is an investment required here if this has to be made amenable for 3D printing. We all know what AM can offer, and there is no surprise that AM has proliferated into the niche segments. My favorite example is this static car here, which is made by a company known as Global Motors in USA, where they have made majority of the car by 3D printing in just 44 hours. In R&D, there has been a proliferation since many years. What we are seeing here is an example of and 3D printed parts used in cars for wind tunnel testing. For evolution of concepts of lightweighting, the additive manufacturing characteristics of topology optimization, the monolith design help, and it helps a long way in the evolving the concepts. The tooling industry, the fixturing industry has adopted the additive manufacturing, and so has the automotive industry, where toolings and fixturings are used. If we look at what does AM offer in terms of material and compare them with the conventional materials, we find there is a huge gap. Most of the alloys used in automotive industry are not developed in the AM industry. And why these high strength materials are developed? These high strength materials aid in making monolith designs, which help in weight saving, and which is a key cost and timeline driver for the aerospace and the deep space applications. Hence, there are proliferations in that industry. If we look at the cost of the materials and their availability, the process governs this. What do I mean by this? The current AM processes demand gas atomized powders, which are 5 times costlier than the conventional powder metallurgy powders. Also, this gas atomization process is a prototyping or a small batch process. So if we have a question that the complete automotive industry shifts to AM, then can this ecosystem support the number requirements? The answer is probably no. The high cost and high delivery ecosystem of raw materials needs to evolve into a more feasible model for auto industry. The cartelization in the powder manufacturing and the machine manufacturing needs to go away. If we look at the requirements of build rate and the cost of automotive industry, AM cannot meet these requirements currently. The initial costs of the equipments and their operating costs are very high. Also, the build rates are very slow because most of the systems depend on point-to-point curing by laser beam, which takes a lot of time. It takes hours to print the job. Even after this, the parts that are made are more net shape and require extensive post-processing. This post-processing is a huge roadblock in 3D printing adoption. It breaks the digital chain that starts with digital design. In fact, it negates all the advancement in terms of unified software and the building of the parts by multiple lasers, whether it's quad lasers, some OEMs are trying to bring in even 12 lasers. So all that gets negated as finally you have to still do the post-processing. This post-processing, which varies from job to job, impacts the scalability, the sustainability, traceability, and quality assurance of the 3D printing process. The complexity of the AM process is also inhibiting its spread. In conventional design, you break down complex tasks into small tasks, whether it is design or manufacturing. Whereas the AM success hinges on making complex parts. These complex parts are made by complex processes. These current processes are highly complex and subject to even small variations in the variables like powder quality, the temperature, the inert gas environment, the build resolution, the support structure, and so on. The complex part made by complex processes need extensive testing and verification. The space and aerospace industry are aware as to the extent of qualification they need to do for using these parts. Further, this qualification itself, once done, is subject to the machine, material, and the build process. There needs to be a huge investment in this to bring in universality. What do I mean by this? Suppose you have a part design and it is made by a particular process in USA, and if it is made by the same process in India, we should get the same result irrespective of the machines used. The complexity further increases by the need of different softwares at each stage. The unified software system needs to evolve to make the ecosystem feasible. In this slide, we are seeing what does the AM industry need to do. You must all be familiar with this slide. However, I would like to bring your attention to one factor, that is overcoming the conventional thinking. This conventional thinking change needs to start with design. The design processes that have evolved over centuries need to change and need to adopt the bionic design approach. What is bionic design? It is nothing but mimicking nature. Nature has evolved over thousands of years, and the bionic structures found in nature are the most optimized ones. As shown in the example here, which I've taken from net, a stiffened structure of a leaf or a honeycomb is being exploited to make a stiffened base plate for a I-beam sort of a section. So this sort of things are possible. Now this bionic design is non-intuitive. There are various ways in which we have done. Out of these two approaches are top-down approach and bottom-down approach. In top-down approach, we mean is we find something in nature, we characterize it, and then we try to use it in the industry. In bottom-down approach, we mean that we characterize a use case in the industry and try to find similar use cases in nature, and then we optimize the system. There are various softwares which help in these processes, which are the generative design softwares and the FES software that help in the bionic design. How does the success look like? Look at this part. This is a multiple part that has been converted into a single part. This part I have taken it from the MSc Apex site. Here you will see that the printing is made easy by the self-supporting angles. There is a functional improvement brought in by making crash-friendly structures. This is 56% lightweight. And this is one of the ideal example of how generative design can help making AM feasible. Now, this is one workflow of one of the software. There are basic 3 steps. One is defeaturing a part. Second is applying boundary condition. Third is the applying loads and optimization. Here we would look at the constraints in assigning the materials that arise due to the conventional engineering techniques. So what are the inputs that you need to give to the software? These are all the inputs which cover the mechanical requirements, thermal requirements, electrical requirements, the usage requirements, also the 3D printing constraints, what are aesthetic constraints, and so on. So is it possible to get this information easily in the conventional engineering designs? The answer is no. This information lies in separate softwares, in distinct data sets, and it is not very traceable to a particular part, as most of these are available at system level. Here, Industry 4.0 techniques can be used where you actually put a sensor in the real world and measure the loads where you actually require it. This is one example where I am showing how the conventional design processes need to change in a very simple application of dimensioning and tolerancing. On the left hand side is a conventional dimensioning and tolerancing, and the right hand side is a bionic part. Can you apply the same technique to this part? No. It will have to evolve as to how the specifications of the design can be communicated to the manufacturer, how the tolerances can be provided, how the tolerances stack up can happen, and how can the assemblies happen. So this requires establishing a complete new method of communication, a language of communication. To show the magnitude of this challenge, I've taken one example here. This example shows a wiring system of a particular object. This is an aeroplane. As you know, there will be many other systems that will be interlinked with this, and all need to work in sync. If this sort of a system is to be characterized and then bionically optimized, it is not possible through the conventional engineering knowledge and the current available, even the generative design softwares. So how will we overcome this challenge? It is here that the current trends of data analytics, AI need to come in. As I said earlier, when we have sensors in the real world and AI captures the data from the sensors and generates the design, it will open whole new avenues, and we can think of solutions which a human mind cannot think of. On the material front, recently there has been a news that experimentations have succeeded in using water atomization for 3D printing powders. These need to be taken ahead for industrialization. For the build rate requirements, there have to be innovations which have started, and I found out one application where light is used for processing in place of lasers. This process is 100 times faster. So more such innovations need to come forward. So in conclusion, I would like to say that the cost of the materials need to come down, cost of the systems need to come down, the quality level has to go up. In fact, we need to make faster and better. But this can all be possible only when designers reinvent the art of design. They invest in adopting bionic design and pave a path for additive manufacturing. I would like to thank you all, and also AMEC, for giving me this opportunity to present my viewpoints. In fact, this AMEC is a good platform for all of us to come and discuss. In the end, I would like to leave a thought that automotive industry needs AM, and AM also needs automotive industry. You must have seen whatever automotive industry has touched has turned into gold. And so we all need to make AM proliferate in automotive industry. Thanks.
Thank you for the amazing session. Hope you have learned a lot from this session.